Hello friends, again welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about the sources of microorganisms in the food sample. Now before starting with the sources of microorganisms within the food sample, we are firstly get review about what is meant by this food microbiology. No doubt in our previous lectures we are already discussing about the basic concepts which are related with the food microbiology. Now, this food microbiology, it is considered to be the branch of applied microbiology which deals with the study of different type of the microorganisms which are included within their processing, which are the part of or which are get uh, contaminated the food samples and responsible to spoil the food sample. So, study of all of these microorganisms, it is considered to be the food microbiology. Now, majorly the food, as the food it is responsible for give the nutrition to us which is essential for our growth. Majorly, no doubt, it is also directly acts as a nutritional a nutrient source of nutrients for the growth of microorganism. For that purpose, now this food it is acts as a ready-made source for the growth of microorganisms. Now, the major important points which are included within this food microbiology involves means with respect to the study of microorganisms associated with the food sample. Majorly, we are focusing on those type of the microorganisms which are responsible for the spoilage of the food sample, means which are responsible to destroy the quality of the food sample. The second most important, it is majorly whenever these microorganisms these are contaminated the food sample, these are also including some of the microorganisms which are the human pathogens, means whenever we are ingesting such type of the food samples which are contaminated by these pathogenic microorganisms, majorly there is the causation of the different types of the infection which are considered to be the foodborne illnesses. Then the third important point, it is now this third point, it is the beneficial use of these microorganisms. Now it is the probiotic food. Now the probiotic food, it is nothing but it is the live microorganisms. There are the certain types of the microorganisms which are responsible for giving the beneficial effect for our health. So these, for that purpose, majorly for getting these advantages, some type of the microorganisms these are taken as a food which are considered to be the probiotic food. So we are also concentrated on that in the food microbiology. And majorly those of the microorganisms which are included within the processing of the food sample or which are utilized for the purpose of production of the food sample, within which there is the mostly important one, it is the fermented food samples, that is the fermented cereals, fermented fruits, fermented vegetables, then the fermented beverages including the beer, wine, then the fermented milk products like that of the cheese, yogurt, such type of the different types of the fermented food products. So it is certain, it is some type of the general or basic information related with the food microbiology. Now we are switch over to our today's topic, that is the different sources of the microorganisms within the food sample. Now, preferentially, these sources of the food samples, it means they directly the food, it is not the enriched source of the microorganism. So there are the different concept or the different sources which are present, which are responsible for introducing these microorganisms within the food sample. Means no doubt naturally the food sample, it is not free from the microorganism, but during the processing, during the preparation of the food sample, the different processes that are carried out, these are also responsible for introducing these microorganisms within the food sample. So one by one we are discussing about such type of the different sources. Now within that, the most important source, it is the raw material which we are utilizing for the purpose of preparation of the food sample. Now within that, the raw material means the different types of the vegetables. Then whenever we are preparing the meat products, within that the meats that we are utilizing. So majorly within the vegetables, the surfaces of the plant structures and the surfaces and the gastrointestinal tract of the animals that we are utilized for the purpose as a raw material, these are the having the high, or these are acts as an rich, these are rich within the microflora like that of the bacteria, yeast and the filamentous fungi. So majorly the raw material itself, it is acts as an source of the microorganisms. If the raw material that we are utilized for the purpose of the preparation of food sample, it is not of good quality, then directly it is responsible for introducing the various types of the microorganisms within the food sample. Again, these microorganisms which are present within the food samples, these will also originate from the natural microflora of raw material and those of the organisms which are introduced in the course of harvesting, then the slaughter, processing, storage and distribution. Because this food preparation of the food sample up to the ingestion of the food sample, this process, it is a long process which are involving the different types of the steps, and at each steps there are the more chances for the introduction of these various types of the microorganisms within the food sample. Now, the second source of the microorganisms within the food sample, it includes the soil and water. Now, majorly the soil particles along with the raw material, the soil particles, these are present majorly. So, through that there is the introduction of the microorganisms within the food sample, like that of the food, the soil as it contains the different types of the minerals, so it is also acts as an enriched medium for the growth of microorganisms. So it is an rich source of the microorganisms. So majorly the different types of the bacteria, these are also introduces within the food sample through the soil, which include the alkaligenes, bacillus, citrobacter, clostridium, cornybacterium, enterobacter, microbes, various types of the microorganisms, like majorly these are the bacterial species. These bacterial species, these are introduces within the food sample. Now along with these bacterial species, there is also presence of the fungal spores within the soil samples, through which there is also the contamination of the food sample by the fungal species through the soil, which includes the aspergillus, rhizopus, penicillium, then the trichothecea, botrytis, fusarium, and the most important one, it is the different species of the yeast. So preferentially the soil, it is responsible for introducing the various bacterial and the fungal species within the food sample. As compared to the soil sample, preferentially the water that we are preferentially utilized for the purpose of the cooking, washing purposes, washing of the raw material, then for the cooking of the food sample we are utilizing the water sample. So if this water sample, it is not of good quality, then it is also responsible for introducing the microorganism. In most of the cases, water, it is not acts as a rich source for introduction of the microorganisms, but if in certain cases the water sample which is utilized for this cooking purposes, it is not of good quality, if it is not of the potability, it is low, then in in that conditions, majorly the intestinal pathogen like that of the salmonella species, then the shigella, such type of the intestinal pathogens, it may introduces within the food sample through the water. Now the next source of the microorganisms within the food sample, it includes the plant and the plant products. The bacteria that are often found to be associated with the plants and the plant product, these are including the Acetobacter, Erwinia, Flavobacterium, Corthia, Lactobacillus, Leuconostoc, Pediococcus and the Streptococcus. Now out of these, preferentially the Lactobacillus, Leuconostoc, Pediococcus, these are the probiotic bacteria, means these are not hazardous for our health, but the other type of the bacteria, these may be the pathogenic. Now along with that, again the different fungal species, it includes the plant borne genera like that of which are responsible for causing the spoilage of vegetable and fruits, like that of the fusarium, aspergillus, botrytis and the alternaria species. And the within the yeast, the most common species, it is the rhodotorula and the Saccharomyces species. Then the next one, it is the different types of the utensils or the glasswares that we are utilized for the purpose of the cooking of the food samples. The types of the foodborne microbes that are found in the food utensils depend largely on the types of the food handled, means which type of the food we are handled within that containers and the storage conditions. The utensils which are used within the vegetables would be expected to have the organisms that are associated with the different types of the vegetables. Then the utensils which have been cleaned with hot or boiling water will only as its microflora those organisms that are able to withstand the treatment. Means whenever we are cleaning these utensils before use with the hot water, then most of the microflora which is associated with that utensils, it is already get removed. Then the next one, it is the intestinal tract of the man and animals. Now the organisms, these are generally found in the intestinal tract of man. These are including the bacteroids, Escherichia coli, Lactobacillus, Proteus, Salmonella, Shigella, then the Staphylococcus and the Streptococcus. Others, these are including the Clostridium, Nitrobacteria, Enterobacter and the Pseudomonas. All of these are present within the intestine. The most common one, it is the Escherichia coli and the Clostridium species. Now these organisms through the fecal dissemination in the man found their way directly into the soil and water, and through the soil and water majorly there is the introduction of these microorganisms within the food sample. Now the food handlers. Now it is the one of the important source, that is those of the persons who are responsible to handle such type of the food samples, or those which are involved within the processing of the food samples. If these are not the healthy persons, or if they are suspected to be suffered from the different types of the infection, then through their activities there may be the introduction of the pathogens which are present within their body within the food samples, like through the sneezing, coughing, if they are having the wounds within the hands, through that there is the introduction of microorganisms. So these are the different ways through which these food handlers, they may responsible to introduce these different types of the pathogenic microflora within the food samples. Means whenever we are preparing the food sample, the sanitary conditions, it must be applied, then there is the reduction within the chances for the introduction of these pathogenic microorganisms which are introduced within the food sample. Then the animal feed. The type of organisms to be found in the animal feed would actually depend on the sources of the feed. The treatment given them destroy the microorganisms and the container in which they are stored and the like. If these proper sanitary conditions these are followed, then there is the reduction of the chances for the introduction of microorganisms. Any one of the above mentioned genera of bacteria, yeast and the mold may be found in the animal feed, like that of the different bacterial species, that is the Streptococcus, then the Micrococcus, Bacillus, such type of the bacterial species, then the Aspergillus, Alternaria, these fungal species, they may be present within them. Then the animal hides. The mostly organisms which are present within the soil, water and animal feeds, dust and the fecal matter are often found on the hides of animals. So all of the microorganisms which are associated with these other sources, these are also present within the animal hide. From the animal hides, the microbes may find their ways into the air and hands of the workers and directly into the food. As the food samples, these are exposed to the air, during that conditions there is the introduction of the microorganisms which are present within the air within the food sample. Some members of the hide flora find their way into the lymphatic system of slaughtered animals, from which they migrate into the muscle tissue of the slaughtered animals. Then the air and the dust. The majority of the genera of bacteria mentioned above, except for some pathogens, are found in air. Now majorly within the air there are the various types of the microorganisms, these are present. All of the bacteria, then the fungal species that we are discussed, majorly all of these they are also found within the air also. The bacillus and the microscopic species, these are the most important bacterial species which are present within the air and majorly responsible for contamination of the food sample. So these are the different sources of the microorganisms which are responsible for introducing these various types of the microorganisms within the food sample. So if you like this video, please subscribe my channel and also share this video with your friends. Thank you.